Hello and welcome. My name is Stefan Charridge, also known as the Metaphor Man, because I use a lot of metaphors to help demystify the human experience of emotions. Because ultimately, we are emotional beings. We're not logical, rational, or mental beings, but emotional beings. This video is to help, remind people of previous webinars or trainings, or give you the basics of my way of actually working, which is with the four core emotions. So my first metaphor is my drone. This drone has four arms and it needs all four arms to be able to function as desired. And we have four core emotions and we need them in balance to be able to function as desired. The emotions being joy, fear, anger, and sadness. The majority of people don't have enough joy in their lives, so can't operate in the way that they want. And if we can't do this, then we normally use our anger energy destructively instead of constructively, just leaving fear and sadness, which is normally diagnosed as anxiety, depression. And with either of these two emotions, the first point of call and the way of working is to explore how the anger energy is being used. And I'm talking about anger energy as opposed to aggression. There is a difference. Anger energy lives in the body. Aggression is a little bit like the parasite in the body. It lives in the body, but it is not of the body. And if we become overloaded with the aggressive parasites, then we cannot function in the way that we desire. And I cover this a lot within my anger workshops, etc. So getting our anger energy online, and then we can actually explore more joy. Joy is where there's the absence of the other three emotions. Joy is where we feel content, at ease, peaceful, and calm, as well as having a fun time. The flip side of joy is jealousy. Jealousy lives with joy. You might buy a brand new mobile phone and be very happy and joyful with it, and then find out your neighbours purchase exactly the same phone for £100 less. You then can lose the joy in your new acquisition and become jealous of your neighbour. Fear. Fear is a cognition. It lives in the brain. And as we think, so we feel. We generate chemicals in the brain. Those chemicals rush into the body, and then we have a physiological response in the body. Our fear and our thinking, our brain is for thinking, analyzing, processing, guessing, negotiating, contracting, planning. It's where our internal saboteur lives, or our risk manager, whatever you want to actually call it. It's our cognition. And this can actually generate a lot of stuckness. Fear is about stuckness. Anger is about boundaries, rules, and beliefs and mobilization. I'm using my anger energy, not being aggressive, using my anger energy to actually speak and mobilize my mouth to communicate what I'm communicating. Dear, oh dear. And sadness is about connection and lack of connection. And this is where depression, grief, addictions, and love live. Love lives with sadness because sadness is about connection and lack of connection. So if you feel authentically connected to someone and loving towards someone or feel loved by someone, then you can experience joy. Joy is secondary to sadness. Okay, so with saying that we only have the four core emotions, there is a fifth, and the fifth is called shame. But shame is like a spinning plate at the circus act. The plate can only spin if it's supported by a stick, and shame can only be experienced if it's supported by an emotion. So somebody might smash a plate in temper and then slip into their shame because they've acted out. Somebody might scream because they've seen a spider and then slip into their shame because they've acted out. Men might let go of some of their tears and slip into their shame because they've acted out. The introject and the messages, big boys don't cry. And for joy, you'll see this where people buy a raffle ticket to win a big cuddly toy and their number's called, and they get all excited and they turn around and say, I can't go up, you go up for me. Because for that individual, the expectation is it's going to be like the walk of shame, being seen, getting their prize, because that individual will be projecting all the negative thoughts and beliefs about themselves onto the audience. So to avoid that being mirrored back to them, it's safer and easier for them to actually ask somebody else to go up. The easiest way to get a sense of projection is to imagine that when we're born, we are like an empty projector. But as we go through life, we have different experiences, different messages, whether it's joyful or painful. And it's as though the film starts generating in the projector. And as we go through life, we experience traumas, little traumas or big traumas. And what happens, i.e., with the person that can't go up and get their prize, they will be projecting onto the audience and they fear those sort of comments, views, opinions, judgments, assessments from the audience. So they are projecting. And it becomes quite confusing. With regards to a client, I refer to the spaghetti brain. Quite often people come in with what I call the spaghetti brain. They don't know if it's their problem, somebody else's problem. Was it this? Was it that? Was my bad boss? Should I do this? Should I do that? Lots of questions and confusion. And that's a little bit like the spaghetti brain being in the projector and a couple of slides or I can't think what it's called now. Being stuck. Yeah. And fear is about stuckness. And if we are actually working with a client, the way to work with a spaghetti brain is to invite the client to choose one theme or topic and park the rest. And you might work on that one theme or topic for a couple of minutes or a dozen sessions. I don't know. I haven't got a clue. Another way of looking at the projector is this, yeah, in the sense that the projector is just the cognition and sadness, joy, and anger live in the body. And we need to get out of our head and into our body. And my belief is that most effective therapy work is actually body work, working with a sensation in the body, because the body knows better than the cognition. The cognition will be, I don't know, or I can't remember. But the body does remember, linked to the books, the body holds the score, or the body remembers. So the work then is to invite the client to project out. Yeah. And if you were to set up a film projector in the middle of a field and get it running, you wouldn't really see very much. So I find it most effective and helpful to invite the clients to project onto a screen. Yeah, i.e. a piece of paper. On Gestalt terms, it might be an empty chair or a doll or whatever it might be. If you do sand tray, it could be various objects, but to project onto an object. And this is what I call middle ground, yeah, the screen, so that the therapist, yeah, we as practitioners, we just look at it. Yeah. And we don't want to take middle ground. And I put a lot of emphasis on this with my trainings, because if you take middle ground, there's nowhere for the client to project onto. And the more the client's able to project and work with a sensation, the more of their intimacy they're sharing, which broken down is into me, see, into the body. Another metaphor that I use is the iceberg model, but I do it with a bit of difference. I like to think that when we're born, we're like a little ice cube, yeah, and the water line would be there. But as we go through life, we get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's a little bit like the film in the projector going bigger and bigger and more of it, more experiences, etc. And now the waterline will probably be about here. And we normally taught that this is the conscious and where the waves are, that's the semi-conscious, and then what's underneath is the unconscious, while our formative experiences will be more in the unconscious type process. And another way of actually looking at the iceberg is, I'm going to do it in red, is that, yeah, it's actually getting into the body. The body holds all the answers. So I've just recreated this to illustrate this again, and that is that whilst there is the unconscious and the body aspect of things, if you imagine the tide was going this way and the wind was going that way, the question is, which way would the body go? Which way would the iceberg go? And it's my belief, because there's a greater mass underneath the water, that it will go with the tide. And coming back to the person with the raffle ticket, consciously, I've won the ticket. I should be able to go that way, but the body is going to go in the opposite direction, because our bodies are more in control of our choices and behaviors than our cognition. As I said before, we need to lose our minds and come to our senses. So I hope you've enjoyed or got something from this. If you want, you can share this video with whoever or whatever, and share this with your peers. If you've got a community that would be interested in one of the many topics that are actually available, do get in contact. My email address is charridge@gmail.com. That's Charridge at the bottom of the screen at gmail.com. I'd like to retain copyright for these metaphors, and there are many more metaphors that I could talk about, but these are the basics, and I hope to, well, hopefully see you sometime in the future. All the best. Bye bye.